The movie opens with a family descended from Kingsguards with their beloved elephant Por Yai. Kham and his father still follow the tradition to raise elephants for the king of Thailand, who would sit upon them in battle while their ancestors protected the elephants' weak points from below. They visit the river where large groups of elephants congregate, and after wandering off into the jungle, Por Yai has a calf named Corn. One day Corn's approached by poachers who try to capture him, but they're promptly scared away by his mother and run straight into the gigantic Por Yai on their way out. Unfortunately, the poachers kill Corn's mother in the attack, resulting in the family holding a funeral attended by her distressed child and an elephant with a good memory. By now Kham's a young man and has grown up alongside Corn as his father did with Por Yai. While his father's now grown old, Kham has trained hard and upheld the family's royal guard duties. Approaching is the festival in which the king will inspect the elephants and possibly choose Por Yai as his own, a massive honor for his father but a sad day for the whole family as they may never see the elephant again. During the event, Kham gets Corn a bell to wear around his neck and they spend their time watching blindfolded Muay Thai together. His father takes the great bull to be inspected by a local politician's son Southen, but Por Yai recognizes one of his men as the poacher that killed Corn's mother. During a scuffle, Southen shoots the father in cold blood, resulting in an enraged elephant chasing him through the streets. While distracted with the fights, Corn runs off to play with the local kids but is found by a group of the same poacher's men and thrown in the back of a truck. By the time he realizes, Kham finds his father wounded and is told to go after the elephants, but Por Yai is tricked into a shipping container and they escape with both before he can reach them. His father survives the gunshot, so during one of his parties Kham goes to the politician's house and begins tearing the place apart. He takes his vengeance out on any of the guests who stand in his way, and eventually the poacher himself to get to Southen, who he disarms. The cowardly man says the elephants were sold to a Vietnamese gangster living in Australia, then gets thrown out the window as Kham escapes with him before his father Southen can arrive. He steals a speedboat and a massive chase ensues where the politician's men begin destroying the surrounding village. Kham avoids any bullets and is required to physically fight the attackers off when they get near. A helicopter is soon sent to deal with him, but using his own boat as a ramp he takes it out with another fast approaching pursuer. The gangster now in possession of the elephants is a restaurant owner named Johnny who specializes in serving exotic meats to his guests. He's employed by the Chinese family mafia led by Mr. Sim, the uncle of the trans gangster Rose, who's put in charge of the restaurant and arcs up when he insults her sexuality. Sometime later in Sydney, Australia, Thai police officer Mark is showing a camera crew around the Asian district. He works with robberies and gets called to a nearby shopping mart where he goes in to negotiate, but recognizes the teen as just a local junkie named Tui who's been hard up for money. After pulling the look behind you technique and taking the criminal into custody, he allows the boy to go home with a slap on the wrist despite his partner Rick's protests. Kham finally arrives in town searching for his family and catches a taxi to the exotic restaurant. They begin to get followed by local police, so Jimmy begins a high-speed chase as he's a wanted thief who robs tourists. Mark joins the passing chase and they block him off in an alley where he attempts to use Kham as a hostage. The hero quickly disarms the assailant, but he's shot dead by Police Inspector Vincent, who misses shots at Kham before ordering the two officers to continue the chase. He easily outruns his two out-of-shape pursuers but is cut off by Vincent with the intention of shooting him in cold blood, but Mark catches back up in time and conducts an arrest. He and Rick are suspicious about why Vincent would appear to want the tourist dead, who begins telling them about his missing elephant relatives. On the way to the station, Mark stops at the exotic restaurant and they see Johnny exit, but the officers still ignore Kham's insistence that they should arrest him. So when they begin to drive again, he chokes Rick out, causing them to veer off the road and manages to escape. He breaks the restraints and follows the Vietnamese gangster where he's meeting up with a Thai woman who's working the streets. Kham confronts Johnny, who requires translation from the girl that he wants his elephants back. The gangster refuses the request by catching Kham by surprise with a few kicks, then leaves his men to dispose of the tourist, but the out-of-towner downs them both and chases the third off a bridge. Instead of harming the fourth, he just shows off his skills and has the terrified henchman take him to Johnny. He's in the middle of a deal and begins working his way through the gang towards him, but Johnny's business partner pulls out so the target leaves. The henchmen begin to come out by the dozens on their BMX bikes and rollerblades, but Kham avoids them by running around an old abandoned subway station. After a lot of useless fluorescent light bulbs, Kham gets away until the penultimate villain of this scene appears in the form of Dirt Bike Dude. He chases him for a bit until a backflip sees his head almost pulled from his shoulders. The final boss gets his moniker due to him having 4 powered wheels, not 2, but he's easily fooled into riding straight through a plate glass window off a ledge. Mark and Rick are taken off the case and told to assist Vincent with anything he needs, then are put on the case of the warehouse attack, which is ironically the same suspect. The chief then mocks Mark on his way out for being proud to protect the unruly neighborhood. When Mark then goes to look at the evidence of the case, he's told not to take anything, then swipes the photo that Kham was given in Thailand to locate Johnny's restaurant. Kham's found passed out after the fight by the Thai girl who recognizes him from earlier and takes him home to recover. Pla leaves the stranger in her home while she leaves for work, but the generosity is noticed by a neighbor. She calls the police, who search Pla's apartment, but Kham's already woken up and escaped the moment he saw a photo of Johnny on the nightstand, running straight past Pla on his way out. At work, she's hired to entertain Rose's uncle, and specifically the Secretary General, in a mud bath. During all the excitement, he begins to have a heart attack, so she goes to the back room to get his pills, but a hooded figure enters just after and shoots everyone in the bathtub. Mark gets to the scene but finds the killer to be Tui, who's clearly been coerced into doing it, when he's shot in the head by Vincent, who's done playing games. He kills Rick and tells his men to arrest Mark as he plans to frame him for the murders, but Mark hits them all with melted wax to the eyes and escapes the building on a conveniently placed Segway. He goes into hiding, but he gets found shortly after and arrested by Vincent. Police attempt to bring Pla into the station knowing that she was witness to the killing, but Kham swiftly knocks 3 officers out and begins questioning her about Johnny. She tells him about a building out back of his regular restaurant filled with all manner of illegal offerings for the public. He walks straight in, taking out anyone in his way, and in a 4-minute single take the camera follows Kham as he fights his way to the top of the tower. He goes in and out of rooms and the camera stays back to view the gangsters thrown from the tower, but always catches back up without cutting until they reach the dining room at the top. Johnny exits the kitchen and taunts Kham with Korn's bell, distracting him and landing another combination, then kicks him the bell and does it again. Assuming the public's just eaten one of his family members, Kham wraps the bell around his fist and gives Johnny the beating of his life. After landing some of the flashiest moves in combat cinema, the henchmen jump in to defend their defeated boss but are beaten as if they're children, including this weak-wristed bladed lady. Kham then finishes a rising Johnny off with a kick, revealing the kitchen to be full of exotic animals all ready to be butchered and ate. He knocks out the chef and some kitchen hands, all with more brutality than the last, as he figures he's lost his elephants, but comes across Mark tied up in a room full of enslaved women. While escaping, the officer asks if Kham's found his family yet, so he's about to break the bad news, when they suddenly discover an unharmed Korn hiding away in the back. Luckily, one of Mark's contacts notices them exiting the restaurant and gives them all a lift to safety. It's at this time Rose takes over the family mafia. She reprimands Johnny for his failure in the restaurant, when Vincent enters, revealing him to be her secret lover and offers to eliminate the problem. He sends men out scouring the neighborhood and tracks them down to a nearby temple where they're taking shelter. The two are housing Korn there and don't plan on staying long for the monks' own safety, but Vincent visits while they're away and leaves the place in ruins. He hires an assassin to remain in case they return, and he catches the hero off guard with his capoeira. For 3 minutes straight, the two fight in a flooded temple with one of the best displays of Brazilian dance fighting ever put to film. Eventually, the Muay Thai fighter gets his opponent's rhythm down and starts countering everything, until getting a hard-fought victory. Out of nowhere, a second hired assassin attacks, swinging a sword wildly and hitting nothing but air. The wushu fighter would have been better off jumping in to help the capoeira guy, but instead has to go against Kham with 2 waterlogged gong sticks alone, though he's quickly pummeled to the chest with them and shuffles away in defeat. The next boss enters and is a 6'11" wrestler named TK, who takes all of the trained fighters' best shots, like Kham's throwing grapes at a wall. When the mountain of a man's proven to bleed, he decides to end it quickly with 2 massive blows crippling his opponent. He's about to kill the hero when police sirens are heard in the distance, so thankfully TK flees before they arrive and Mark quickly gets Kham out before he's arrested. They hide out in a park for the night, but the next morning Mark wakes to find the tourist missing, as Kham and Korn are currently crossing the Sydney Harbour Bridge in broad daylight and walking straight up to Rose's building. He demands poor Yai to be returned in front of everyone and makes his way through security until Vincent pulls his gun on Korn. Just then Mark enters and shoots the crooked cop before finally making the long-awaited arrest, but Johnny enters sporting a shaved head and empties his gun in their direction. Mark uses Vincent as a meat shield to try talk his attacker down, but Johnny shoots Vincent dead as he's the one he came to kill, feeling replaced as Rose's right-hand man. Kham follows Korn, who leads him upstairs and into Rose's office, where a fortune teller unveils the skeleton of poor Yai on display as he believes it will bring her family good fortune. Kham breaks down but doesn't have the time to properly mourn as he's swarmed by Rose's men. He has brief flashbacks of the two together while standing there tanking every hit they throw at him, until one finally draws blood, so he fights back. With a major focus on breaking limbs in this fight scene, and with some of the most creative ways to do it, Kham and his dexterous hips defeats a room full of basic level henchmen with ease. After another 5 minutes of some of the most original combat in cinema, the entire room's done over by a plethora of techniques, leaving it scattered with bodies of defeated enemies. He approaches Rose, who sends out TK as her predictable penultimate defender. This time though, Kham nails him with a full-speed flying knee to the forehead right off the bat. He uses the big guy's momentum against him, using the floor to land the harder hits. He leaps up and begins raining down elbows, but Rose steps in and lends TK a hand, allowing him to land some of his damaging strikes and putting Kham right back where they left off in the temple. The fortune teller walks in with 3 more giants, so the brave Korn comes charging in and attempts to help, but one of them can apparently hammer throw an elephant through windows. The defeated hero is then thrown into the ornament made from poor Yai, and is suddenly reminded of the weak points his ancestors were entrusted to protect on the otherwise impregnable elephants. With 2 of the massive bones now strapped to his arms, Kham leaps on TK and begins to wail on all 4 musclemen until the elephant bones break, then starts targeting the weakest parts of the elephant, slicing their tendons and causing them to collapse. TK doesn't go down as easy, and instead needs a few extra hits and his arm to be broken just to give up. Now focused and hyped up, Kham's able to easily disarm Rose and chases her to the rooftop, where the fortune teller's already departing in a helicopter. Before they can escape, Kham tackles her off the dingleberry, and with the same move from earlier when trying to scare one of the thugs, he high kicks the unfortunate teller from the chopper. In a last-ditch effort, Rose grabs onto the chopper as it flies away, but Kham, with no regard for his own life, leaps off the building with a flying knee, sending both him and Rose plummeting into the skylight below. Rose lands on the hard office floor while Kham's falls broken by a familiar place in the horns of poor Yai. He's able to walk away and is joined by Korn, who's unharmed by this crazy practical effect, and who isn't seen again in the film, but I'm going to show you him being happy again anyway. After Vincent's deception, Mark's reinstated and given a new partner, as a reporter asks him about the rumors of a Thai man with a red scarf. And the movie ends. So you made it. I appreciate your time. I couldn't have done it without you. Tell your mother I said thanks.